Okay, now you formerly were a county commissioner. So
Hmm.
this next question is, how would you work with the county commission regarding funding and accountability?
Yeah, and so the first thing that comes to my mind, having been on the county commission and worked with the school board to the degree that we're able to do
Mm-hmm.
that, there are controls, legislative controls, and things of that nature. But the first thing is, if you want to work with somebody, they've got to like you.
Yeah.
And for the school board to come in and berate the county commission, and I've seen that happen,
Mm-hmm.
it's intimidated. You turn somebody, you flip their switch, and they're not going to communicate with you because you cause that by body language and by voice. So we, as a school board, we need to be able to go to the commission and communicate our needs and make sense out of that. It needs to be logical. It needs to be
Yeah.
reasonable. It needs to be practical, and it needs to work well with the commission's desires. We're not going to get past the commission. I can tell you this. They're going to do what they're going to do because I have sat on that board.
Mm-hmm.
I've been one of 22 votes, and I know how it works. But if you make yourself presentable, practical, and reasonable in every sense, and we see that what you're doing is for the students in our community, we're going to get behind you, or they're going to get behind you, and they're going to
Yeah.
support you. And so I don't know how that all happens, but as is mentioned, the animosity is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sense in it. Professional people should not be yelling at each other.
Correct.
They shouldn't be. Striving in different opinions is absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
that's a part of who we are as Americans.
Right.
We have a voice. We have an opinion. We should be able to share that. We should
Yes.
be able to have our temperatures rise if they need to, but we
Mm-hmm.
ought to be mature enough to handle that in the
Right.
public and not be on the front page of the newspaper tomorrow because we went off like a 13-year-old ourselves. We need to
Exactly.
handle ourselves as mature adults, and we need to share opinions, and we need to learn from each other.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's what it's going to take to get the job done.
it is. It absolutely is. And so I think if we bring good proposals to the commission, there won't be a lot of resistance if they make sense.
Exactly.
If they don't make sense with the philosophies and the beliefs of the people on the commission, that's another thing. You do have two sides there as well. Sometimes
Right.
five sides. Who knows? uh, but we just need to be reasonable. People are reasonable in their thinking and their processing,
Right.
and we need to give them that opportunity to look at what we're seeing, and it needs to make sense on paper.
Absolutely.
When we hand it to them, all things are communicated better on paper. I'm a firm believer of that. One of the questions that we may probably will not address, but I'll go ahead and address it, is does there need to be a plan for improvement on paper? Well, everything is communicated better in documentation
Yes.
and in paper. Doesn't mean everybody's going to read it or adhere to it, but it's there, and you've got something to go back to. It's just like
Right.
job descriptions. Well, we need a plan that makes good, solid, concise sense to
Yeah.
move our students out of a 30 percentile rate up to a 90.
Yes.
We ought to be the school system that Tennessee is looking at and saying, how the heck did you go from that to that in a short period of time? And it can be done. And it's all about leadership, and it's about right decision making. And I'm just going to say this: the Bible says, when the righteous are in authority, the city rejoices. We need the right people on that board making the
Yes.
right decisions, and they're not people who stand for the woke movement, that stand for all these things that work counterintuitive to education.
Right.
Politics has no place in the school room, in the
No.
classroom.
No.
It has no place in leadership or administration of a school system. Politics needs to be kept out.
Yep.
This needs to be entirely about education, about security and protection for
Yes.
our teachers and our students. And it needs to be about us as a community shining in our state and even in our nation. We need to impact our nation because we make change that others can follow and grow from what we do. And it's
Absolutely.
going to be all about leadership, and so we need the right people.
We do need the right people. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Darryl, for
Thank
taking the
you.
time to be with us today.